Good morning. Today we'll see a technique called bubble sort, one of the simplest sorting techniques. Bubble sort works by comparing pair of elements in a list and then swaps the elements if they are not in order. This process repeats until n-1 passes and hence at the end the list gets sorted. So for example, let us consider a list 75, 18, 95 and 25. What happens now? Check from the first, start comparing every two adjacent elements. 75 and 18, are they in order? No. So swap them. It becomes 18 and 75. Now check 75 and 90, are they in order? Yes. So now compare 90 and 5. Are they in order? No. So swap 5 and 90. 5 and 90. Now it becomes, now at last you are remained with 90 and 25. 90 and 25 are not in order. So swap them and therefore at the end reach the largest element in the list. Like this, you do the remaining passes for the remaining number of elements in the list, and likewise you proceed to obtain a sorted list 5, 18, 25, 75 and 90. Let us look at the code once. The code says you compare j and j plus 1, which are very two adjacent elements in your list, and you swap them if they are not in order. This process repeats n-1 times to get the sorted list. Now let us go for the second sorting technique, that is selection sort. As the name says, it is based on the process of selection. Selection sort selects the smallest element in the list and swaps it with the element in the first position, because in a sorted list the smallest element will be in first position. So therefore now the list gets broken up into two small sublists, sorted element in the left list and unsorted elements in the remaining part of the list. Now again this technique is applied on the remaining elements, and again the second smallest element is chosen from the unsorted list and placed in first position, that is A of 1, and this process repeats until n-1 passes to produce a sorted list. Example, let us consider the same elements again, 75, 18, 95 and 25. In order to sort using selection sort, step 1, we are supposed to find the smallest element in the list. The smallest element is 5. So now, after finding the smallest element, 5 is swapped with the element at A of 0, that is 75. Therefore, pass 1 becomes 5 and 75 are swapped. We can clearly see it from the previous step. Now, the list has 5 in its sorted element and 18, 90, 75 and 25 as unsorted elements. Now in the remaining unsorted list, select the second smallest element. Here, the second smallest element looks to be 18 and it is in the same position. So therefore, the pass 2 remains 5, 18 and with unsorted elements at 90, 75 and 25. Now, take the remaining list 90, 75 and 25. Find out the third smallest element, that is 25. Swap it with the element at position 3. Nothing but A of 2. So therefore, we swap 25 and 90 and therefore the list becomes 5, 18, 25, 75, 90. Now, the last two elements are 75 and 90. 75 is in its position, so therefore pass 3 and pass 4 are same. Now, at the end of 4 passes, that is n-1 passes where n is equal to 5, we have the final sorted list using selection sort as 5, 18, 25, 75 and 90. Now let us look at the code. The selection sort code is pretty simple. It takes an array A of size n elements. It finds the smallest element in the list. We are more interested about the position of the smallest element because the element at smallest position should be swapped with 0th position. So therefore, min is I. You compare your elements. This particular loop, the highlighted portion selects the smallest element in the unsorted list, and when your smallest element's position is not equal to the position of the element that you are supposed to swap, then you swap your elements, and that's how the selection sort works. Now friends, before proceeding further, I would request all of you to just pause your video for a while and think about the differences between selection sort and bubble sort. What is the difference between selection and bubble sort? Yes, now it is clearly understood that from the two techniques that we have learnt above, selection sort swaps only when the smallest element is found. That is, inner loop does not have a swap logic. Whereas in the bubble sort, right from the first phase, whenever you find elements, pair of elements not in order, you swap. The first difference is selection sort is based on a technique called sorting by selection, and bubble sort is based on a technique called sorting by exchanges. Selection sort uses fewer number of swaps, whereas bubble sort uses swaps for a larger number of swaps. That too are the major differences between selection and bubble. Now we see a third technique, the insertion sort. As the name says, insertion sort, it is taken up from the concept of playing cards. Whenever we are given a set of cards, we first pick the first element, assume it to be sorted, and then arrange the second element according to the first element. Now, for example, in the list 75, 18, 95 and 25, we assume always the 75 element to be sorted. Now, we go and take the second element in the list, that is 18, compare it with the first element. Because 18 is lesser than 75, 75 is pushed one step backwards and 18 is inserted in the position of 75. Now the list becomes 18, 75, 95 and 25. Now consider your second element, that is 90 in the unsorted list. 90 is greater than 75, so therefore 90 is just kept as it is. And now pass 2 is similar to pass 1. So proceed for your third element in the unsorted list, that is 5. Now 5 is compared with 90. 90 is a bigger element, so 90 is pushed one step backwards. 5 is now compared with 75. 75 is bigger, so it's pushed one step backwards. And 5 is compared with 18. It's pushed one step backwards. And therefore now the list becomes 5, 18, 75, 90 and 25. Now the last element is 25. Let's check it for the last pass, that is n minus 1 passes. 25 is compared with 90, bigger, so 90 here. Next, 25 is compared with 75. 75 is bigger, push it one step backwards. 25 is compared with 18. 18 is smaller, so therefore 18 as it is and 5 is as it is. Now the position is in between 18 and 75, so insert your element 25 in this position. And thus the final pass is the sorted list 5, 18, 25, 75 and 90. Now let us look at the code. This is the code. You push it one step backwards whenever you find a greater element than the temporary element that you are comparing, and you just finish your job. Thank you so much.